The Mediterranean Sea, an intercontinental sea located between Europe and Africa, stretching from the Atlantic Ocean in the west to Asia in the east. It extends approximately 2,500 miles, 4,000 kilometers, from the Strait of Gibraltar between Spain and Morocco to the Gulf of Iskenderun on Turkey's southwestern coast. Its average north-south extent measures about 500 miles, 800 kilometers, from Croatia's southern shores to Libya. The Mediterranean Sea connects to the Atlantic Ocean via the Strait of Gibraltar, and to the Black Sea through the Dardanelles, the Sea of Marmara, and the Bosporus. The Suez Canal provides a connection to the Red Sea in the southeast. The Mediterranean connects to the Atlantic via the Strait of Gibraltar and to the Black Sea through the Dardanelles, the Sea of Marmara, and the Bosporus. The Suez Canal links it to the Red Sea. The Mediterranean Sea, often called the Sea Between the Lands, is an intercontinental sea that separates Europe from Africa and stretches to Asia. This sea is bordered by the continents of Europe, Africa, and Asia. It connects to the Atlantic Ocean via the Strait of Gibraltar and to the Black Sea through the Dardanelles, the Sea of Marmara, and the Bosporus. The Suez Canal provides a connection to the Red Sea. The Mediterranean Sea's coasts have varied formations due to deposition, erosion, sea movements, and land emergence. The Mediterranean Sea's geography has made it vital for trade and travel throughout history. Its access to rain-bearing winds, ease of communication, and relative lack of storms fostered trade among early civilizations. Following the Middle Ages, Mediterranean states mediated trade between the Orient and Europe. The opening of the Suez Canal in 1869, along with steamships and European industrialization, revived the Mediterranean as a major sea lane. Moreover, the Strait of Sicily and the Strait of Messina have been of great strategic importance throughout Mediterranean history. Today, tourism is a major income source for coastal countries, drawn to the Mediterranean's beaches and culture. The Mediterranean Sea is home to a diverse range of plant and animal life, with nearly one-third of its roughly 12,000 species being endemic. Regarding plant life, phytoplankton are abundant, and sea lavender is a common plant in the Mediterranean, with one of the most common species being the Mediterranean, or common, sea lavender, Limonium vulgar. The fish population in the Mediterranean is related to subtropical Atlantic species. Demersal fish such as flounder, sea bass, sharks, and rays are caught by trawlers. Pelagic species, such as sardines, sprat, and anchovies, are also common. Other marine life includes crabs, shrimps, prawns, corals, and sponges. The Mediterranean Sea faces several environmental challenges today. Industrialization, growing shoreline populations, and tourism have led to severely polluted waters, especially near coastal areas, due to weak currents. Nutrient scarcity impacts marine life, though the sea maintains rich biodiversity with nearly a third of its species being endemic. Overfishing, strengthened by small mesh nets, depletes local stocks and endangers species like dolphins and sea turtles. Dam projects, such as the Aswan High Dam on the Nile River, alter the sea's hydrological characteristics by reducing freshwater flow and increasing salinity, modifying circulation patterns. Despite efforts like the Mediterranean Action Plan to raise awareness and control pollution, improvements in environmental quality have been limited. The Mediterranean Sea, an intercontinental sea situated between Europe, Asia, and Africa. It is surrounded by the Mediterranean basin and almost completely enclosed by land, on the east by the Levant in West Asia, on the north by Anatolia in West Asia and southern Europe, and on the south by North Africa. To its west it is connected to the Atlantic Ocean via the Strait of Gibraltar that separates the Iberian Peninsula in Europe from Morocco in Africa by only 14 kilometers 9 miles. Additionally, it is connected to the Black Sea through the Bosporus Strait that intersects Turkey in the northeast and the Red Sea via the Suez Canal in the southeast. The Mediterranean Sea covers an area of about 2,500,000 square kilometers 970,000 square miles, representing 0.7% of the global ocean surface. It includes 15 marginal seas, including the Aegean, Adriatic, Tyrrhenian, and Marmara. Geological evidence indicates that around 5.9 million years ago, the Mediterranean was cut off from the Atlantic and was partly or completely desiccated over a period of some 600,000 years during the Messinian salinity crisis before being refilled by the Zanclean flood about 5.3 million years ago. The history of the Mediterranean region is crucial to understanding the origins and development of many modern societies. It is sometimes described as an incubator of Western civilization, and saw the emergence of some of the earliest and most advanced civilizations, including those of Egypt, Greece, and the Fertile Crescent. The Levant in the eastern Mediterranean was among the first regions in the world to display permanent human habitation as early as 12,000 BC. The Mediterranean Sea was an important route for merchants, travelers, and migrants in antiquity, facilitating trade and cultural exchange between various peoples as well as colonization and conquest. The Roman Empire maintained nautical hegemony over the sea for centuries and is the only state to have ever controlled all of its coast. The Mediterranean Sea has an average depth of 1,500 meters 4,900 feet and the deepest recorded point is 5,109 plus or minus 1 m, 16,762 plus or minus 3 feet, in the Calypso Deep in the Ionian Sea. It lies between latitudes 30 degrees and 46 degrees north and longitudes 6 degrees west and 36 degrees east. Its west-east length, from the Strait of Gibraltar to the Gulf of Alexandria, on the southeastern coast of Turkey, is about 4,000 kilometers, 2,500 miles. The north-south length varies greatly between different shorelines and whether only straight routes are considered. Also including longitudinal changes, the shortest shipping route between the multinational Gulf of Trieste and the Libyan coastline of the Gulf of Sidra is about 1,900 kilometers, 1,200 miles. The water temperatures are mild in winter and warm in summer and give name to the Mediterranean climate type due to the majority of precipitation falling in the cooler months. Its southern and eastern coastlines are lined with hot deserts not far inland, but the immediate coastline on all sides of the Mediterranean tends to have strong maritime moderation. The countries surrounding the Mediterranean and its marginal seas in clockwise order are Spain, France, Monaco, Italy, Slovenia, Croatia, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Montenegro, Albania, Greece, Turkey, Syria, Lebanon, Israel, Palestine, Gaza Strip, Egypt, Libya, Tunisia, Algeria, and Morocco. Cyprus and Malta are island countries in the sea. In addition, northern Cyprus, de facto state, and two overseas territories of the United Kingdom, Akrotiri and Hekalaya, and Gibraltar, also have coastlines along the Mediterranean Sea. The drainage basin encompasses a large number of other countries, the Nile being the longest river ending in the Mediterranean Sea. The Mediterranean Sea encompasses a vast number of islands, some of them of volcanic origin. The two largest islands, in both area and population, are Sicily and Sardinia. The Mediterranean Sea is one of the most historically significant and geographically fascinating bodies of water in the world. Situated between three continents Europe, Africa, and Asia, it has, for thousands of years, served as a crossroads of civilizations, trade routes, cultural exchange, scientific development, and political conflict. Its very name comes from the Latin Mediterraneus, meaning in the middle of the earth, reflecting how ancient societies perceived it as the center of the known world. More than just a sea, the Mediterranean has been a stage upon which the drama of human history has unfolded continuously for millennia. Geographically, the Mediterranean Sea is almost entirely enclosed by land, giving it a unique character distinct from the vast open oceans. It connects to the Atlantic Ocean only through the narrow Strait of Gibraltar in the west. This slim passage, only about 14 kilometers wide at its narrowest point, acts as the sea's primary gateway to the wider world. To the northeast, the Mediterranean connects to the Black Sea through a chain of narrow waterways, the Dardanelles, the Sea of Marmara, and the Bosphorus. In the southeast, the man-made Suez Canal links it to the Red Sea and, ultimately, the Indian Ocean. These strategic passages have ensured that the Mediterranean is both protected and highly contested, a semi-enclosed basin that nevertheless remains globally connected. Covering approximately 2.5 million square kilometers, the Mediterranean stretches nearly 4,000 kilometers from west to east. Though vast, it is relatively shallow compared to the world's major oceans, with an average depth of about 1,500 meters. Its deepest point, the Calypso Deep in the Ionian Sea, plunges more than 5,000 meters below the surface. The sea is divided into several subregions, the Western Mediterranean and Eastern Mediterranean, separated by the Italian peninsula and the island of Sicily, the Adriatic Sea along Italy's eastern coast, the Aegean Sea between Greece and Turkey, the Ionian Sea south of Greece, and the Tyrrhenian Sea west of Italy. Each subbasin has its own ecological and historical identity, yet all are bound together by shared currents and climate. The Mediterranean climate, characterized by hot, dry summers and mild, wet winters, has profoundly shaped human settlement. This pattern of seasonal rainfall and warmth created ideal conditions for agriculture, particularly for olives, grapes, wheat, and citrus fruits. Over centuries, these crops formed the foundation of regional cuisines and economies. Today, what is known as the Mediterranean diet is internationally recognized for its health benefits, rooted in traditional eating patterns shaped by the land and sea. Long before modern nations emerged, ancient civilizations flourished along the Mediterranean's shores. The Egyptians thrived along the Nile Delta, using the sea for trade with neighboring regions. The Phoenicians, master shipbuilders and navigators from the eastern Mediterranean, established trading colonies across North Africa and southern Europe, including the powerful city of Carthage. Their maritime networks linked distant societies, spreading goods, alphabetic writing, and cultural practices. The ancient Greeks expanded across the Aegean and beyond, founding colonies around the Mediterranean basin. Their ships carried not only wine and olive oil but also philosophy, mathematics, political ideas, and artistic traditions. The sea was central to Greek mythology and identity. In Homer's epic tales, heroes such as Odysseus wander across Mediterranean waters, encountering strange lands and testing their resilience. These myths mirrored the reality of a maritime culture deeply dependent on navigation and trade. Perhaps no civilization embraced the Mediterranean more completely than the Roman Empire. At its height, Rome controlled nearly every coastline of the sea, referring to it as Mare Nostrum Arsi. Roman engineering connected Mediterranean ports with an extensive network of roads, enabling goods, armies, and information to circulate efficiently. Grain from Egypt fed the population of Rome, wine and olive oil traveled across provinces, ideas and religious movements spread rapidly through maritime trade routes. The Mediterranean became the central artery of a vast imperial system. Following the fall of Rome, the Mediterranean did not fade into obscurity. Instead, it remained a vital arena of interaction during the Middle Ages. Islamic caliphates rose along the southern and eastern shores, transforming cities such as Cairo and Tunis into centers of scholarship and commerce. Meanwhile, Christian kingdoms in Europe expanded maritime trade. The Republic of Venice and the Republic of Genoa became powerful trading republics, dominating sea lanes and linking Europe with the Byzantine and Islamic worlds. Spices, textiles, precious metals, and knowledge flowed through Mediterranean ports. The rise of the Ottoman Empire further reshaped the eastern Mediterranean. For centuries, Ottoman naval power influenced regional politics and commerce. Yet global dynamics began shifting in the 15th and 16th centuries as European explorers discovered sea routes around Africa and across the Atlantic. Trade increasingly moved toward the Atlantic Ocean, diminishing but not eliminating the Mediterranean's central role. A dramatic revival of Mediterranean significance came in the 19th century with the construction of the Suez Canal. Opened in 1869, the canal linked the Mediterranean directly to the Red Sea, dramatically shortening the voyage between Europe and Asia. What once required months of travel around Africa could now be completed in weeks. This engineering achievement transformed global trade and restored the Mediterranean to the heart of international shipping routes. The 20th century brought new challenges. During World War I and World War II, the Mediterranean became a major theater of military operations. Naval battles, amphibious invasions, and North African campaigns underscored its strategic importance. Control of shipping lanes meant control of supply chains and military mobility. After 1945, decolonization reshaped the southern Mediterranean as countries gained independence from European powers, creating new national identities and regional relationships. Throughout the Cold War, the Mediterranean was a frontier between political blocs. NATO forces operated from southern Europe, while parts of North Africa and the Middle East aligned with different ideological currents. Even in peacetime, the sea remained a zone of surveillance, diplomacy, and strategic maneuvering. In the present day, the Mediterranean continues to serve as a critical artery of global commerce. A substantial portion of the world's maritime trade passes through its waters, particularly via the Suez Canal. Oil and gas shipments from the Middle East travel westward, manufactured goods from Asia transit toward European markets. Major port cities such as Barcelona, Marseille, Genoa, and Alexandria anchor economic networks that link continents. Ecologically, the Mediterranean is both rich and vulnerable. Though it accounts for less than 1% of global ocean surface area, it contains a remarkable proportion of marine biodiversity. Its relative isolation has allowed unique species to evolve. However, this same semi-enclosed structure makes it susceptible to pollution accumulation, overfishing, and climate change. Rising sea temperatures, marine heat waves, and invasive species threaten delicate ecosystems. Climate change poses perhaps the most serious long-term risk. The Mediterranean region is warming faster than the global average. Sea level rise endangers low-lying coastal areas and historic sites. Increased drought frequency affects agriculture and freshwater availability in surrounding lands. Environmental protection efforts, often supported by frameworks under the United Nations, emphasize cooperation among Mediterranean nations to preserve shared resources. Migration has become another defining feature of the modern Mediterranean. For centuries, the sea carried merchants and explorers. Today, it also carries refugees and migrants seeking safety or opportunity. Dangerous crossings highlight stark inequalities between northern and southern shores. Humanitarian organizations conduct rescue missions, while political debates over border control and responsibility continue within Europe and beyond. Energy exploration in the eastern Mediterranean has introduced new geopolitical dynamics. Offshore natural gas discoveries have sparked negotiations and at times tensions over maritime boundaries and exclusive economic zones. Because the Mediterranean is relatively narrow and bordered by many states, overlapping claims require diplomatic resolution. Technologically, the Mediterranean's role has expanded beyond shipping. Undersea cables crossing its seabed carry vast amounts of global internet and telecommunications traffic. In this sense, ancient trade routes have evolved into digital highways, continuing the sea's legacy as a connector of civilizations. Culturally, the Mediterranean remains a symbol of shared heritage. Its shores have nurtured Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Philosophical traditions from Athens, legal systems from Rome, and scientific scholarship from medieval Islamic centers have shaped global civilization. Art, architecture, music, and cuisine across the region reflect centuries of exchange. Yet the Mediterranean is also a place of contrasts. Luxurious tourist resorts coexist with struggling fishing communities. Cruise ships glide past refugee boats. Ancient ruins stand beside modern industrial ports. It is a region where prosperity and hardship meet face to face. Ultimately, the Mediterranean Sea embodies paradox. It divides three continents, yet it unites them. It has been a battleground and a bridge, a frontier and a homeland. Its waters have carried armies and pilgrims, merchants and philosophers, conquerors and dreamers. From geological upheavals millions of years ago to the rise and fall of empires, from mythological voyages of Odysseus to the global shipping networks of today, the Mediterranean has remained central to the human story. It is not merely a body of water enclosed by land. It is a living archive of civilization itself. As humanity confronts environmental, political, and social challenges in the 21st century, the Mediterranean Sea continues to remind us that connection defines our world. Its waves touch 3 continents, but their influence reaches far beyond. The Mediterranean endures as a symbol of exchange, resilience, and shared destiny, an enduring testament to the power of geography in shaping human history. Thank you for watching this video.